Yeah, let's talk about let's talk about dragons. Because I've got some things to say about dragons. Every artist dreams of having a project which still has interest and engagement, 5 years from now, 10 years. The main experiment here is, so each one of these artworks can be combined, they can be joined like two jigsaw puzzle pieces. And then when those two artworks are combined, they unlock a new artwork, which is generated again from those two pieces. And then that collector can either sell it or they can just hold it. So there's the potential to build these very complex composites. So the more pieces, base mints that are created, the more complex composite pieces you're going to be able to make. The idea being that would create a lot more community engagement. People would have to work together to get the pieces they wanted. The way I picture it is like a pyramid. So at the bottom you've got the base mints, and as you go up the pyramid you get more and more complex outputs, but there's less possibility of making them, or they've been limited in some way. So you've got this structure where somebody can just get a piece of my work for $100 and maybe they're happy with that, but there's also something further up the pyramid, something right at the top for some of my collectors who want the very special exclusive piece and can afford it. There's something for them as well. So that's the basic vision for that structure, this kind of pyramid.
Somebody tweeted about it and said that it was 15 years in the making.
In a sense, it's been like 25 years in the making, because some of the geometry I developed in the first 15 years ended up morphing into this motif. But so about 15 years ago, I built this whole sort of geometric system to make art with, this kind of geometric meter system, and it was all based on this, it sounds simplistic, but squares and circles, square root of 2, And then I shifted, and the basic kind of building block became like a hexagonal grid. You end up with a lot of this proportion of like the square root of 3 to 1 and stuff, equilateral triangles, hexagons and stuff. The first kind of like motif that really grew out of that new kind of metering system was this thing that now forms the basis of Quasi Dragon. There was some sort of properties about this motif I really liked. It's just this really sort of beautiful, it's not really it's symmetry in a typical sense, but it's like a symmetry around the middle of the motif, if you can imagine. So like the outside of it is reflected on the inside, and then it also has this kind of like property where you can kind of like tile it, not seamlessly, but it sort of fits together in really interesting ways with other pieces. So you can build composites, and that was apparent right from the first day I created it. Or you can do this really interesting way. So I spent a number of years just sort of experimenting with different ways to combine this together to make more complex forms. And then I got into making gen art, and I remembered this project, and I thought, wow, that would be an interesting thing to explore in long form generative art, although at the time I was like, this could be really difficult to make this, and it was. I always wanted this to be some sort of puzzle, because of the way they interlock geometrically, it's lent itself to that without forcing it. And because of how long I've worked on it previously, this motif, how special, important this was to me, this was kind of like my special project, and I figured, well, I'll drop it when I find the right partnership. When I kind of work out what exactly I want to do with it, in terms of the puzzle, the interconnectivity. But I knew I wanted it to be an experimental project, but I wanted the right partnership. So I was in New York for NFT NYC, and I had a meeting with Jamie from Verse. I told him about the project, and he said, what's that? I don't know if I've seen it. And I showed him, he's like, wow, can we do this? I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know. I said, well, and then we started to talk about the technical side of things. And it turns out they just got this, not just an awesome tech team, but the tech team who really understands Web3, they understand drop dynamics, and they're very creative and have some great ideas. So right there, we kind of decided, okay, let's do it. So basically, I was just holding on to that project to find the right team, and I think Verse is definitely the right team. There's nobody else out there who I would trust this project with. So we are going to have a physical show and a kind of an event after the drop. We wanted to just look like a traditional art show, so we're going to give the works plenty of space to breathe. We're going to have obviously some composite works, some single big mints, maybe like 5-6 feet high, just this one screen maybe with a video on it. But we want the main show to be, you know, that's where we try to bridge that gap and get more people from the gallery world to just come in and see the work and hopefully just let the work speak for itself, you know.